right, we're back with Ace Boogie talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, and I wanted to get your perspective on a topic that people in Cleveland have been talking about a lot, right? You know, it's turmoil over here, right? The season hasn't gone the way. It's kind of strange because the season has gone exactly how we all thought it would go, but you know how these things are. It's easy to say we're gonna win like 6 games, right? Yeah. Real easy to say we're going to win 6 games. Living through winning 6 games, oh, so much different. You know, I always make this point when people are like, we're going to be 6 or whatever it is. I'm like, you don't understand what it's like to live through that because you're not going to feel the same way. Like, it's easy to be like, oh, we're going to win 6 games, keep the coach, keep continuity, we're going to hold the boat, and then you go through it and you realize what winning 6 games or winning 3 games or winning 4 games requires you to look like. And you watch it every Sunday and you're not going to be happy with it. Because I get a lot of comments. Well, why are we freaking out? The Browns were expected to be bad this year. Why are we trying to fire everybody? But it's how you look, right? If you're a competitive 2-win team, it is what it is. And one of the bad looks for the Browns, and I don't think the trade itself was a bad idea considering where the Browns were, what they're trying to accomplish with this season, and just where Joe Flacco is in his career, right? I didn't mind the trade when it happened. I still don't mind the trade. I'll stand on that business 10 toes down. Like, I think that was fine, getting a 5th round pick for Joe Flacco. But the thing that's been a perception issue for the Browns is we watched this offense for 4 weeks absolutely devour Joe Flacco. And then he gets traded 10 days later. He looks revitalized with the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's the Joe Flacco we thought we were getting during training camp. So as somebody who's not, in the Browns sphere, right? You're watching this from the outside looking in, but now you're affected because Bengals have been, are now in the Joe Flacco business. How do you think, what do you think of that 4-week period where we were watching the Browns and we're like, oh my God, right? Why does it look like this? It must be Joe Flacco. And then now you're watching Joe Flacco with the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously with the better supporting cast on offense, but it can't just be like the difference is so stark that it's not just written off by, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, because like you said, I watched those games. I think I even said on the show, Joe Flacco looked like he was washed when he was playing with the Browns, and I was saying that, hey, it's time for them to throw somebody young in there. I think to me, the one thing about Joe Flacco that I didn't know, and maybe you might have known, was I didn't know that he still had the arm. So I didn't know that the arm was still there. Like, I'm just seeing the interceptions be made. I'm seeing the stagnant offense that you're seeing. And I'm just like, man, he just doesn't have it anymore. So when he came to Cincinnati, the biggest thing that I think has been an asset is when you take him and you put him in an offense with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins, with Chase Brown, with Noah Fant. See, a lot of people look at us and they just think Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. But it's a lot more than that. Like, they had Mike Gesicki at the time, so they got 2 good tight ends. They got a decent running back in Chase Brown. The offensive line, a lot of people kind of overlooked the fact that it was more improved. But the other thing too, which it's almost like a thing with Joe Burrow where he likes to play hero ball. So as a result of that, some of those sacks that he does take are technically his fault. Like, we saw it in the preseason. Joe's running back, and we're like, dog, Joe, what are you doing? Just throw it away. The stark difference between him and Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco's not doing that.
Joe Flacco is the king of not doing that. He would just get rid of that ball. He let that bitch fly. 2 seconds and he's out.
he is out of there. And so I think that really helped a lot. And then the other thing is, I think it's a stark contrast when you have a 40-year-old guy who's a respected veteran come in, and you got Zach Taylor telling him what to do. That's all Joe Burrow has known, right, since he's come into the league. But this is a guy that's dealt with different coordinators and stuff like that. So Joe Flacco, I feel like when he hears Zach call something that's stupid, he's audibling or he's changing it up at the line. And I think because he's that veteran, he has that trust to do that. So he's coming in, he's going into a situation where I think he has, a decent offensive line situation. He's got these players on the outside, and he's looking at the situation and he's like, nobody can guard Jamar Chase. Like, I'm just gonna throw it to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and I'm gonna live and die by that until I learn some of these other guys. Now, he did play with Noah Fant before, I believe, when he was in Denver, so he knows Noah Fant. So I think it's just been a situation to where he's a little, I'm not going to say Zach Taylor proof, but he's a buffer between Zach Taylor and what he wants to call. And he's smart enough to read stuff at the line and be like, whatever Zach is calling on this play, I need to switch. And like, we've seen it. Like, Jamar Chase went rogue and was like, nah, I think I'm going to run this route on this play instead. And Joe Flacco was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I think it's a situation where it's a different environment for him. He's playing with more talented people, but then it's also a situation where he wants to prove as well that that wasn't him that you guys saw in Cleveland, right? Like he didn't get a chance to kind of come back because when we got him, he's second in the league in interceptions. And they asked him about that. And he was like, I just don't feel like I got a chance to put my best foot forward. And I didn't know that I was going to get another chance. So I think there's a part of that in him too, right? Like I got to prove that I wasn't that bad and I'm not washed yet. Like I think that that's a part of it too with Joe Flacco. But it's just the veteran presence. You can just see the way that he commands the offense is vastly different from the way that a Joe Burrow would command the offense. And there's just things that he does that I can't really explain that are just like, it's more cerebral. It's like, not saying that Joe Burrow isn't cerebral, but it's like, oh yeah, they got me. Yeah, I'm throwing this one down. Or hey, I'm gonna try to draw these guys off sides in this situation. And I feel like he has the gusto to kind of question Zach.
Well, he's also like a very polished game manager, right? Like I think that's the really thing about him is like, and I know people use game managers like a description of like a level of play for a quarterback, but it's just a skill set, right? Like of like knowing like, okay, he's really good at we get backed up at like the 10. Yeah. I gotta make sure that we get to the 25 so we can get field position flipped. Like he's thinking of all those meta games, and for a coach like Zach Taylor who struggles at that kind of stuff, right? Like Zach Taylor call a fucking screen on the 10, like not giving a damn about field position. He'll be like, no, let's check in the stick. Let's get 6 yards here so we can punt if we don't get it. And he's really good at the game management meta of that whole of the football thing. I also think what's interesting about Joe Flacco, because when I watch him on tape in Cincinnati, he is the best argument for getting rid of Stefanski and also the best argument for keeping Stefanski at the same time. Because when I watch him in Cincinnati, I'm watching them run a lot of the stuff that's driving me crazy in Cleveland. Like they're like in these like condensed sets, right? They're like running 12 all the time. It's like, what this, but they're successful out of it. And it makes me think, well, maybe the problem is that we just don't have the horses, right? Because you look at Cincinnati, they got the horses, you know? Exactly. But then, you know, I watch them in Cleveland do the same thing, and I'm like, no way it could be this bad, man. like, so it's fascinating. Like, what has this experience with Joe Flacco been your major impression of like Kevin Stefanski been when you kind of look at it in retrospect as somebody who's benefiting from him right now?
I would say,
real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper.
It's hard to judge Kevin because, like you said, I mean, you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but we did see Jake Brown, and it's kind of made me look at Jake Brown and I'm like, dog, what's going on there? But I think with Kevin, I mean, it's a situation where you don't have the receivers at that level, right? And I think it's just more so a situation where I don't know how much, Joe could really say to Kevin. Because I don't know their relationship. You would be able to speak to that more so than I would.
They had a really good relationship. They're both Philly guys. So
was it like a situation where Joe could be like, I'm not doing what you want me to do, Kevin, and I'm just going to do my own
No, it's very
thing,
collaborative. So, the relationship between them, I mean, Joe Flacco basically helped them write this offense, right? Yeah. Which is why I'm not surprised that when I watch Cincy's tape, I'm like, this is a lot of Joe Flacco stuff, right? Because Joe was very involved, especially after Kenny popped his hamstring in camp. He was very involved in like what routes go where and like, you know, how they like to line up and how they're going to attack. So like, no, they had a lot of like mutual respect for each other and like a lot of collaboration in the offense. And it's, again, it's tricky because it's like on the surface, if you're just a regular fan, you're looking at Joe Flacco right now, look like Joe Burrow, and you like, damn, what the hell? Yeah. Kevin's terrible. And then I watched the tape, and I'm thinking like, they running the same shit.
Like I think it's just that Joe Flacco had all the answers to the offense, and they did say that. Like, it's funny that you say that because they came out and said the reason why we went after Joe Flacco is because he fits what we do on offense to a T. He's a perfect fit for what they want to do. So I think he just had the answers to the test. And then you got Jamar Chase, you got Chase Brown, you got these weapons that Jake Brown for some reason couldn't get the ball to. And he just had the answers to the test, and he just came in and it was like, oh, I know how to fix their offensive line problems. Like you said, I'm just going to get rid of the ball way faster. Like, I'm not going to hold on to it. I'm going to target these guys. I'm going to make it pretty simple. And the other thing that they said as well was they said Jamar Chase said that he's never been with a quarterback that's called the play as fast as Joe Flacco. So I think that's also giving them more time to set up, giving them more time for audibles. He knows where he wants to go with the ball. So I think a lot of it is just Kevin Stefanski may have given Joe Flacco the answers to this Bengals offense to help them out. I don't think that is bad. It looks bad on Kevin Stefanski because it's hard to say, like, I'm going to hold that against him when you got the best duo in football at receiver with the Bengals. So it's hard for me to say, like, that same thing should have just worked there.
You'll be amazed how much that is going under the radar in Cleveland because when he had that big game on Thursday night, people were like, look at Joe Flacco.
Yeah, now if he was going out there.
I was like, bro, he threw that bitch 22 times to Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Like, now, if he was out there and we talking about, like, Mitchell Tinsley and Yoshi going off, then I'm like, but I mean, dog, he's throwing to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Let's just keep it a buck. And every time he's going to Yoshi has been dropping the ball. So to me, it's more so that than it is anything else.
Yeah, I struggle with the Browns this year because I just can't. I don't want to feel like what we're watching is going to continue. Yeah. And like keeping Kevin makes me feel like that could continue. But also it's like, this is a decision I don't think they should take lightly. I mean, Kevin is a 2-time coach of the year. Like, you can't just like toss him out. Like, like Hugh Jackson or something like that.
The equivalent would be if you took Al Golden from the defensive coordinator for the Bengals and then put him on the Browns with Myles Garrett. Oh, man, he looks better over there. Yeah, of course he does.
That's a great perspective. I've never really thought about it like that.
Yeah, the defense looks better over there. Like, yeah, it does.
He got Myles Garrett. Like, I guess it's truly like, I think the same thing's happening now with what's his name, Matt Patricia at Ohio State, where people are like, oh, Matt Patricia's a genius. It's like he has the most loaded roster in all of college football, and it's easy to look like a genius when you got the horses. Sometimes I get to this battle with myself because like I think sometimes we put too much on genius in football in NFL or the ideal of a genius in football in the NFL. We're like, oh, this guy's gonna figure it out and he's gonna make water out of wine. Well, wine out of water. Yeah, the other way wouldn't make any sense, right? But honest to God, most of the time, it's not really like genius. It's just, hey, that guy's really good at football, right? Like that. It's like there's with Jamar Chase, I think it requires like a guy to humble himself to understand that you don't have to think so fucking hard to get the answer because that's what Jamar Chase is there for, right? We went through this with Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham, where Baker wanted to prove that he was so smart that he was going to figure it out and he didn't need, to just baby the ball into Odell Beckham, right? He didn't need to just do that. But I think somebody who's smart is smart enough to realize that the solution is simple, right? Which is like, hey, just get the ball to this dude, right? And I think that's the leap for Baker, where it's like, hey, there was a point in time where Baker was obsessed. He used to give like Rashad Higgins the same amount of targets as Odell Beckham, and then you watch him now, and he's like, nah, man, Mike, where you at?
Like, I mean, and you're right, bro, because another thing in the Super Bowl, like OBJ goes down, right? You know what the Rams did? Oh yeah, they just spam Cooper Kupp. That was it. it was like, and the Bengals, Lou, on his side, he wanted to be like, I'm sticking to my game plan. It's like, dog, the game plan is cover Cooper Kupp. Like, let everybody else do whatever. We just got to stop Cooper Kupp now. But they weren't willing to do that. The teams that spam whoever their best player is, those are the teams that win. It's not rocket science, dog. Like these players are like Odell, like you said, Jamar Chase. They're the face of the NFL for a reason, right? Like it's not that hard, bro. Just give them the ball.
Yeah, and it's like it's like basketball is the only sport that like intuitively ever got it right, where they're like, this dude tall. We gonna give tall man the ball. Like it's such a more simple sport. It's fast paced that it forces you into those simpler conclusions. But I think they got it right there, right? Like what do you want at the end of the game? Your best player to have the ball, and that's why you want your quarterback to be your best player, because he's gonna have the ball at the end of the game. And that you just want your best players to be deciding these moments for you, and that comes down to being able to have the horses. So it's like, you know, I don't want to get in a situation with Kevin where the Browns end up, you know, basically sacrificing him because the offensive roster is what it is. But I do also have to wonder, like, hey, man, does it have to be this bad right now? You know, it's like because what we're seeing right now, I'm like, man, like the personnel can help, but like, why we got Isaiah Bond blocking for David Njoku? Like, you know, like what? It's some head scratching stuff. So, you know, I'm at it. I think a lot of fans, not the people who like are loud online. The people loud online made it clear they want to fire Kevin Stefanski, right? But I think there's a lot of people who, you know, most people who interact with your stuff aren't going to really comment. I think a lot of those people don't really know what they want to do. Like, you know, they're like, oh, well, Kevin's a good coach. We've had so many bad coaches. But then you're seeing stuff like Joe Flacco play well. And for me, it's like a catch-22 because I'm like, I'm watching Joe Flacco right now. And my issue with Kevin's the structure of the offense. He's running the same structure in Cincinnati, just with better players. It looks great. It looks like it works. The run game's working. Like all this stuff is working off of it. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not the structure. You know, maybe it's just that we don't have the horses to run it properly, even when we had Joe Flacco at quarterback. Because it's not like, I beg anybody, go look at what they're doing and go look what the Browns are doing. Like it's very similar stuff. And that's, on one hand, it's wild to see that, like, for Browns fans, that's been the vocal part of why we are wanting a coach fired. That might keep Zach Taylor hired. It's just doing the same exact stuff that's going to get Kevin fired. It's a fascinating place in a fascinating time in the AFC North. I want to thank Ace for coming on and discussing it with me. Ace, where can they find you if they want to hear more from you?
Yep, you can find my content on Cincinnati. You can also find me on Bleacher Report under the Bengals section. So appreciate you guys so much. And if you're on Twitter, you can find me at New Stripe City. All right, man. Appreciate you being on. Everybody have a great day. Have you a better night. Peace.